an information gap can always be solved by more data. And when we looked on the US market and we looked about the residential market in the US, there's so much data everywhere. You can know basically everything you need to know about a US property if you know where to look and if you know where to buy your data from. And if you can utilize this and use machine learning algorithms and AI to take all this data and to pinpoint exactly what you want to know, which in our case is the property value as a collateral, it's the net operating income, the cash flow that's coming from this property, you can get very accurate results in a matter of seconds.
Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Just sit back, relax, and learn from the leaders of today. It's a journey. Each one is different, unique, inspiring. Let's get started. This episode is powered by J Ventures, a community-driven VC fund in Silicon Valley, in partnership with Lomitech, and sponsored by Homeward Ventures, Hippo Insurance, Upwest, Hillel at Stanford, Leap, and Birthright Excel. Welcome to another episode of 20-Minute Leaders, and hello, Yair Benyamini, co-founder and CEO of Lendai. Yair is the co-founder and CEO of Lendai. Prior to founding Lendai, Yair headed the cross-border transactions and the business development of one of Israel's leading law firms. In that capacity, he took part in global multi-million-dollar transactions in North America, Europe, Asia, and the Middle East. Yair has more than 15 years of experience leading large-scale operations, including in the IDF and several NGOs. Yair is also the chairman of SpaceGirlz, a non-profit organization promoting space and science studies for young girls aiming to build the next generation of women scientists. Yair Benyamini, welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. How are you?
Thank you for being here. It's a pleasure joining this.
Wonderful.
I was listening many times to the show, and now being here is a great pleasure for me.
Well, that's a huge honor for me to hear. So thank you very, very much. You're working on some really fascinating things in the fintech space, specifically leveraging AI to work with financing and lending for foreign investors in the United States residential markets. You're using deep technology to make the process seamless and easy. I go to the website and immediately I see, within 10 minutes you can see whether you have the right conditions to get funding from Lendai, your company. And so I'm excited to dive deep into, the founding story of Lendai, where you're at today, and a little bit more about the domain that you're in. And so perhaps let's start there, Yair. Take me back to the founding of Lendai. You're not coming from the real estate space, tangibly, I believe, or the AI space. So tell me a little bit about your transition there, and then how this company came about.
Yeah, so the easiest way to understand with the story on how everything came together. So around 2.5 years ago, Boaz, our CFO and one of the co-founders, had a conversation with a finance professor from IDC, one of Israel's leading universities, actually my school as well. And they talked about foreign investment in the US, in Europe. Boaz and myself, together we met around a real estate transaction in Athens, to be exact. And this professor told him that he has 3 single-family properties in the US. And he even has a bank account in Chase from the sabbatical year that he did. And in one of his last visit in the US, it was pre-COVID, he wanted to buy more properties, but this time said, well, I'm done with buying all cash. Let's get into the bank and get a mortgage. So you knock on the door, open Chase where he has his account, say, hi, I want to buy more properties here. Where do I need to sign the mortgage? That's all I need to do. And the US banker just looked at him, smiled, like a US banker knows how to do. Then, well, we know the properties here just well. We know how to evaluate them, how to put a lien on them, how to foreclose them if we need to, how to sell them afterwards. Basically, we know everything we need to know about a US property. We have a slight problem, and it's you. You have no credit scoring here. You don't know who you are in your origin country as far as AML, KYC processes goes. Where do you say Israel is on the map? You said somewhere in the Middle East. I don't even know where it is, actually. So thank you, but no thanks. You won't see $1 from us. When he came back to Israel...
No, yeah, before you continue with the story, I just want to pause here for a second because we hear the story a lot about, foreigners coming to the United States, no credit score, no credit system, no background, making it difficult. Why? Just give me a little bit of an overview. Why is the U.S. system based on this idea of background checks? Why is it so important for the bank as a lender to be considerate of your background before they make this lending process?
So basically, every lender, whether it's a bank or a private lender, need to mitigate his risk. And when you come a new client, even more if it's not a client that worked with you on a day-to-day basis, and you don't get, if he's not a U.S. resident, so he doesn't have a W-2, he doesn't get a salary in the U.S., you as a lender or a bank just doesn't know enough about him. So the credit scoring system is a tool for them to use, say, okay, there's some other guy that is evaluating this person. It gives them a score. I know that they have a good algorithm, they have a good system. From the one who sees this client for the first time, I can count on this system, and it makes me easier to decide. Basically, it's mitigating my risk because I know, okay, he has a 800 points FICO score. What can go wrong? Somebody checked him before I did, and it was okay. Now I will do my double check, and I will make sure that everything is fine. But I already know that I'm talking with a good client. When someone comes with poor credit scoring or no credit scoring, it's just almost impossible for the bank to evaluate the risk. So then if he needs to put all his effort in, let's say if an Israeli or a German guy or a Chinese coming with his bank statement in his origin country language, who knows how to read Chinese in a US-based bank or German, and the process is just too long and it's too much of a hassle for them. And it doesn't matter if it's a car loan, mortgage, credit card. You see this problem going all the way into the industry, and there's different types of fintech lenders and fintech companies. Each one of them is targeting a different audience of those FinFi, no credit, foreign investors, name it however you want to. Because the US system is based on those FICO scores and those credit scoring, there's so much good people that are just left outside of the credit system in the ordinary day-to-day life.
Right. So we'll go back now to the funding story. So now that we understand this problem, it'll give a little bit more context as to how you're actually going about solving it, because you're actually leveraging deep technology to sort of bypass a lot of these issues.
Exactly. So just to finish the story, so after he came back from the US to Israel in this case, and he said in the US they told him no. He came back to his bank, to Leumi Bank in Tel Aviv, and he told, hey, I'm a client in the bank. I want to get a mortgage to buy more properties in the US. The Israeli banker told him the exact opposite. They told him, well, we know you just fine. You have a great salary from the university. You're a client of this bank for many years. We would love to work with you, but we have a small problem. We have no way how to evaluate, how to foreclose, how to take a property overseas. So thank you, but no thanks. You won't see a shekel from us. And that's the problem that we're solving. And the same problem goes with a Canadian investor buying the US, a Mexican over the border coming to the US, or a German, or of course, for any other place in the world. Once we realized this problem is existing, and it was after this call that Boaz had with the guy, we said it was 2019, and how come it could be that this informational gap is causing this financial gap when we're talking about a good investment property in the US, a good foreign investor, because it's someone that had enough money in his origin country to go and diversify his portfolio to the US. We're not talking about someone from the street. We're talking about high net individuals, mass affluent clients, people that has money. Those are good clients. And in their origin country, everybody loves them in the banking system. In the US, nobody knows them. Once we understood this, we thought, how can we solve this problem? And the idea that we came up with, we said, in 2019, an information gap can always be solved by more data. And when we looked on the US market and we looked about the residential market in the US, there's so much data everywhere. You can know basically everything you need to know about a US property if you know where to look and if you know where to buy your data from. And if you can utilize this and use machine learning algorithms and AI to take all this data and to pinpoint exactly what you want to know, which in our case is the property value as a collateral, it's the net operating income, the cash flow that's coming from this property, you can get very accurate results in a matter of seconds. And from the other side, a US bank that is looking on a foreign investor doesn't know exactly what to do. But if you know how to assess a client in his origin country based on information from his origin country, so we know how to assess the Canadian based on Canadian information, the UK guy on the information from London, the Israeli guy from Tel Aviv. And if you know how to take all this information and put it into one system that is basically an underwriting and a pricing machine that evaluates the property value, the property NOI, and the foreign investor credit scoring, you can get what we call a point-of-sale mortgage based on this triple digital underwriting system. This system is what enabling us to get a point-of-sale mortgage. Because you're talking about 10 minutes, it takes around 3 minutes to get a loan offer, not even 10 minutes. And the guy can sit in his home in Montreal, in Toronto, or in Sydney and get a loan offer fully online, say, I accept and going to move forward, doing the entire process based on our platform. And from application to processing and closing, even the signing of the mortgage documents, everything goes on the online sphere. And he can get a loan of $300,000 on his portfolio in Ohio when he sits on the couch in Tel Aviv, for example. And this is basically what our technology is enabling us to do.
So, now, obviously, here there's a sort of chicken and egg problem. You're talking about building a model that is able to assess and mitigate those risks. But what I'm considering here is, how do you actually prove that the model works? Because, until you actually lent somebody money and saw that they're able to pay it back, you don't know whether you've done a good job. So how do you go about, as the leader of this organization, think critically about, okay, when are we ready with our own model to go and actually use this to predict the chances of our clients paying back the mortgage?
So first of all, due to the diversity of our founding team, we have Erez Dricker, who's our CTO. He's a 33-year veteran from the tech side of the banking system. He built credit scoring system and origination system in the Israeli banking system. We have Tim Mironov, who is our chief data science, who is 15 years in the fintech industry. All he's doing dusk to dawn is just building AI algorithms in the high-frequency algo trading ecosphere, in the property value ecosphere in the last few years. And we have Boaz Leviatan, our CFO, who was the head of the credit market capital sector in the third largest bank in Israel. So we have a team that knows how to evaluate risk. We took all this knowledge, put it into the machine, and put it into the platform. And because we wanted to show that we know what we're doing, the first mortgages we issued from our own capital. We gave our own money to our to the foreign investors based on the algorithms that we built. And from the second mortgage, actually, and onwards, the banks were on board with us, gave us the credit lines. And I think we're maybe the first fintech lending company that, as of the second mortgage that it gave, or the second loan that it gave, it was already bank debt. And it's not because we have pretty eyes, it's because we have good reputation, we have great collaterals, and we built a very smart and easy to use system that the banks can just understand how it works. But it's not just that, we're not a SaaS solution. Because if I would need to go into, let's say, Wells Fargo and say, hey, take this mechanism and build it into your own system, it's a sales cycle that takes years. This is why we decide to be the owner originator ourselves, and we take the risk. And once we show that the risk is okay and is mitigated in a good way, now all the big banks that we work with and funds that give us the funding are just know that we know how to deliver because we showed it and we proved the model time after time.
All right. And so I'm imagining that one of the big goals of the company is to be the go-to place for foreign investors to come to get this mortgage and to get this financing. And so it's a question of scale. And one of the KPIs is probably to get more and more customers on board. How do you then strategically think about doing that? How do you know when to push it, when to hold back, when to evaluate? What is sort of the thinking process that you go with?
So I totally agree with you. And when we started building the company, we thought, what type of model do we want to build? Is this a B2C company? And if it was a B2C company, how do we get to hundreds of thousands of foreign investors that are spread worldwide? And this is why we chose to be a B2B2C type of business. So we have a huge partnership networks. We work with realtors, loan brokers, property managers, developers, entrepreneurs, everybody that has a US operation working in the real estate industry in the US and sell or manage or working with foreign investors. They get from us a system that they can use either to manage their portfolio and with a click of a button to connect their clients to our loans. So basically what we're doing, we're financing their clients and empowering them because once their clients have more money, they can do more transactions with them. So it's a very simple, easy to use win-win situation system. They bring the clients, we bring the money, and everybody makes more. And this is why we can get into thousands and tens of thousands of potential clients from 100 partners that we have. And we're getting new ones every day.
So far, it sounds like a true Cinderella story, but where's the poop? Well, what's been really challenging in your journey, from the get-go until where you came to now?
So it took us, we started working on it in 2019. We launched the platform in 2021, and we worked full-time all the time just to build the infrastructure, basically, because we couldn't take anything off the market. Say, okay, there's a loan origination system, let's take it and use it. Because the questions that an American origination system asking are not relevant to the foreign investor. And if we're looking on an algorithm, let's say Zillow algorithm, evaluating a property value, it's looking on the property as an investment property. So it looks how money does it worth today and how high it will go. But what we are looking on is how low it will never go because it's a collateral, it's not an investment. So we had to build everything from scratch. From the legal side of it, I'm a lawyer by profession and no one's perfect. So I spent hours and hours and hundreds of hours just to build the right legal structure to make sure that we can operate in an easy way and to scale from state to state. Now we're opening a new state in the US probably every 3 to 4 weeks. If we haven't built the right legal network and legal system, this couldn't be happened. So it's a watch with a lot of variables and a lot of tools and screws inside of it. And we had to make sure that everything is fully automatically inside of it. This is why we're 4 founders. You don't see many fintech companies or other companies that have 4 founders. Each one of us has between 10 to 30 years of experience in his field of expertise, because what we're doing is very complex. Knock on wood, we're succeeding.
Now, a little bit more personally about you. So you've been in the legal space for quite some time. You've managed very significant deals, and you said that you launched this. You founded the company in 2019, launched in 2021. What happened in 2019 that you decided it's time for you to become an entrepreneur, to become a co-founder with other 3 folks to build a company? What was it? A sudden decision? Was it a lengthy process for you?
So it was a lengthy process. I was working as a lawyer. I loved what I do. And I was actually in the midst of negotiation, becoming a partner in the law firm that I work. I actually had the agreement and I gave notes and said, change this, change that. And then I met Boaz. Wow. And Boaz came to me with the story and the idea around this transaction. And when sometimes something just click, you see, this is the right person. It's either being a lawyer for the rest of my life or trying to do something else now. And 2 weeks later, I put in a notice and left the firm in good terms, but I said goodbye, and we founded Lendai. And a few weeks later, Boaz and I said, we need to build a tech system here. So he called Erez. Erez told, hey, today I'm leaving the bank after 33 years. I said, great, let's meet tomorrow. The next day he joined, and Tim was actually working there. And we said, Tim, come and join us, maybe be the first employee. And he said, you know what, they changed something on the company that I work in. They're changing the technology. He was the head of R&D in a high-frequency algo trading company. I'm looking for something new. I'm coming. I'm joining. And we just said, okay, just everybody join. And from this day onwards, we're working together. And Boaz was the glue that bring all of us together. Boaz was working with Erez in the banking system, with Tim was on his last fintech company that they had, and with me on this real estate transaction. So Boaz just collected good people from all kinds of places, and the rest is history, as we say.
So do you have a prior relationship with the fintech space, specifically foreign investments, AI-based solutions, or is this something that you grew into as a part of your role as co-founder and CEO of this company?
So many things I learned as an entrepreneur. Investing in the US is something that I did as a lawyer, as a foreign investor myself. So I knew the problem. As a lawyer, I managed a lot of transactions in the US for Israelis, for some European companies. So I knew the market. I knew the cross-border transaction market. I did it with cannabis farms in Canada, hospitals in China, and many other kinds of transactions. So I knew the era, and I knew how real estate in the US is working. I'm married to an American girl. So we have family in Florida, and we're just moving to Florida actually next month. So I knew the market. I just needed to connect the dots with the technology and to say, okay, this is the problem. This is how the market is working. How can we solve it with technology? And I'm glad to say that this is what we managed to do in the last 2 years.
I love it, Yair. I want to take you back to your childhood and go back and understand a little bit you better. What really fascinated you as a child? What really sparked your curiosity?
So as a child, I raised in the Golan Heights, in the far north of Israel. I'm coming from a farmer family. We raised mangoes and bananas and whatever you want to. Basically, as a child, I was so far from the tech world. I was raising, kite surfing in the Kinneret, in the Golan, in the Sea of Galilee. I was working in the fields with my family. I was so far from this tech world. After I finished the army, I was for quite a few years in the army as an officer. Today as well, I'm a major. I'm a company commander in the Israeli Special Forces. And I came to Herzliya, to the IDC, to start learning. And once I opened to the world of what happens, in the city, let's call it like this, and I saw where technology can take people, I was just amazed. And I said, this is where I want to be. 10 years later, this is where I am. This is where I am with my family. And I just love the ecosystem. But it's very far from where I began and to where I am today.
That's what it sounds like. And so if you look in your day-to-day right now, what inspires you, whether it's a specific event or something that's ongoing?
So it's the small success that we see, a client that says, hey, you solved the problem that I had for many years. I have a portfolio of properties and I tried, everybody told me no, and we know he's a good client. It's working with the team. This is what I always wanted. And part of the reason why I left being a lawyer is because being a lawyer is a very soul. It's yourself, the computer, you're managing a transaction, maybe working with an intern or two. But I'm an army guy. I like to have all my team in a row and charging on the enemy or on the market, whatever. And this is what you do in a startup. You put everybody in line and just running forward together. And I really wanted to be part of a team. And this is what I am today. I'm a part of a team of amazing people. And I just, we work 18 hours a day, but we do it with a smile.
I love it. I love it. And what are 3 words you'd use to describe yourself?
Ooh, that's a good question. So I'm very positive, and I think I couldn't be an entrepreneur if I wasn't hopelessly positive. As my wife will say it. I'm very much trying to be multidisciplinary. So I know where I came from. I know what I know today. And on the road, I learn how to manage people, how to work, how to develop businesses, how to manage funds. So I'm very, very much multidisciplinary. This is why I went to the IDC to learn multiple things. So I learned law and government and business and many other things. And I'm very determined. Once I set my mind on something, nothing will stop me.
I love it. Yeah, thank you very, very much. Best of luck with Lendai. I can't wait to see this company grow and continue following your journey. And I really appreciate the time. And stay safe and stay healthy.
Thank you very much. Stay safe as well. And good luck for Kipo and the success for the team.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure being here.
Thank you very, very much.